that people being able to accept being wrong is one of the most important tools people can have.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty important topic.
I like that one. I always tell people that a lot.
Yeah. I think it lets you, like, it's kind of a gateway to mindfulness, too, because it lets you take a more objective approach at, like, viewing yourself and how you think and stuff. Like, it lets you, it just makes you more kind of open-minded, obviously, but just being able to, like, admit when you're wrong about something and, like, looking at it as, like, a good thing instead of a bad thing. It's like,
Yeah.
And the more you find out you're wrong about, then the more you're right about, essentially. And, it lets you, I don't know, because to, like, really get deep into the mindfulness thing, you have to, like, let go of a lot of stuff, including letting go of the way you think about a lot of things to kind of make room for new ways of thinking about things. So, and I don't know, so many people get some kind of way when they think they're wrong about something. And
the emotions, so yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Some
it.
people just
like,
get too depressed. Some people get flustered and mad at you. Like,
Yeah.
It can't be wrong.
Right. And, like, even if it's just, like, simple stuff or big stuff, like, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not someone has researched something or not, like, it doesn't matter sometimes. Like, yeah, pretty much like you said, you just gotta kind of take the emotion out of information finding.
Yeah.
You have to look at it like, you have to not make it a part of you and, like, make it a part of, you don't want to, like, identify with your opinion about something or what you believe to be fact so much, because, like, you never know.
Definitely has a lot to do with an open perception, for sure.
Yeah.
You got to be able to see, even if it's not, like, true or false, like, information, just accepting, I don't know, how you acted some way.
Right.
And, like, someone confronts you about it and you get mad or upset because they're telling you this, and it's... But if you just kept an open mind perspective and saw, oh, maybe I was making an ass out of myself.
Right.
Maybe I am... Just uncause anything, really.
Yeah, because, I mean, everybody does it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody does it. Everybody gets mad about stuff, and then, like, things they shouldn't probably have gotten mad about, or said stuff they probably shouldn't have said, or, like, everybody does it. You gotta accept that first, and then accept that, you do too sometimes. And the thing is more, like, the more open you are to being able to receive that kind of stuff from other people, like, hey, you're being some kind of way. Like, easier it'll be for people to tell you that.
Exactly.
Especially be able to tell you that in a nicer way. Because if you're just acting like a dick all the time, then eventually somebody's going to want to tell you, but they're not, going to want to be nice about it.
You know what? If I tell him this, he's just going to freak out.
Right, exactly.
You just dig yourself a hole.
Yeah. Yeah, plus, I mean, it doesn't do anything for you being mad.
No.
And, like, everybody... I think another thing is people don't realize how much control they have over their feelings and stuff. Like, a lot of people just assume they're, like, a slave to their thoughts and feelings, so they feel like they have to be mad about something. Like, how can I not be mad? Like, this just happened, or, like, this is going on.
It's wasted energy, really. You focus your mind on so much when you could be, oh, how can I improve myself?
Right.
Because there's always improvement upon every situation, and acceptance in every situation, even if you were, quote, right in the situation to begin with, you can still take another person's perspective out of that.
Right, definitely.
Even if, yeah.
I mean, that's all the universe is trying to do, is gain different perspectives, Like, so I think, anyway, with, like, life and stuff, it's just got, like, these billions of people out there. Each one has their own view and their own perspective of stuff, and that's how, the universe gathers information. That's how even, like, plants and stuff, the universe knows exactly how much light's going where because of the information plants take in.
Yeah.
And it's, like, the same kind of thing.
Every information is everywhere. That's the one thing This is my one favorite phrase I always started with was, there's no good, there's no bad, everything's neutral.
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain this the other day to my girlfriend, and she's like, well, how can you say there's no good or there's no bad when people are getting raped and murdered? And I'm like, okay.
Common question on the topic.
I'm like, okay, well, I morally see these things as bad. Like, as humans and we become more civilized, we have these morals we put into play to protect everybody's own equal right and to, I don't know, sort of just grasp and enjoy our time on Earth and what we have. We realize this is something special as we become more intelligent. So it's more important to an intelligent species, I believe, to protect these rights and protect other people's rights. So yes, morally, there's things good and bad, but a rock seeing someone get murdered, if a rock could see, I don't think the rock would have any perspective on that.
Right, it's just so. It's just
it just
what
happens.
It
just
happens.
happens.
Yeah, it's
and
like
that's
the whole cheetah gazelle
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
you know, like you can't really say it's bad that like a cheetah eats a gazelle.
It's just
It's just
part of the food chain. That's
what
how
happens.
the cheetah lives.
I guess that's kind of different than like a person murdering somebody
Just out of
over
cold
something.
blood.
Just because, yeah, like.
But either
yeah.
so, like, the whole concept is, it's how you see things. There's always another way to see it.
Right.
This person killed someone. All right, someone murdered somebody else. Well, why did they murder him? Well, he killed his whole family and raped his wife. Like, okay, that's pretty. Was murder the right option? I don't know, but he still had some underlying issues.
Right.
He felt.
It wasn't just like
Like
some person was just walking down the streets one day and was just like, oh, I'm going to kill that person.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But even then, who's to say that's right or wrong? Because it's just a happening of the universe.
Exactly. And I think, like, really, if you go back, I think the way I would answer that is if you go back and, like, say, like, okay, well, you have this person that, like, say it is somebody that's just like a serial killer, someone that's just killing people just because or whatever. If they, before they started, you know, serial killing and stuff, like, if they would have had the understanding that there's no good or bad, then they probably wouldn't be serial killing people. You know,
This
like,
is also true.
they probably had something
Yeah.
went on in their life that they thought they were wronged in some way, you know.
Had to, yeah.
And maybe they were, but then you could just keep taking that back. Like, okay, well, like, say his dad murdered his mom or something and that he was just fucked up after that. Well, then you'd be like, okay, well, if his dad had this understanding,
Where did his dad
whatever
get it
fucked
from?
him up, yeah, if whatever caused that situation had that understanding that, because what it comes down to is, like, once you get that realization that things don't have to be good and bad, especially on, like, petty levels, like, because most people fuck up their lives, like, feeling some kind of way about a lot less petty things than, you know, somebody getting murdered.
Yeah.
And, like, once you take that view that the situation that's happening to you isn't inherently good or bad, but it's basically, here's that. But it's basically, it's just what happens, and what makes it good or bad is how you react to it. And then that was a realization I had that changed a lot of stuff for me and helped me deal with,
You can only pass
like,
the buck for
just
so
a lot
long.
of dumb situations and, like, just people I run into that, like, I don't like, and I think about it like, okay, well, the way I look at it now is, like, I want to be a better person, and each thing that comes up, like, each thing you see as a problem and each thing that pops up is essentially an opportunity you're given to either progress yourself or move back a step. And, like, I don't know, that's what it comes down to. So you have to kind of make, like, a conscious thing, because so many people don't recognize the difference between, like, their conscious thinking and decision making versus like their subconscious, but then that like space in between there too.
Pretty much
You
like
know?
the ego, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people don't recognize the difference in that. But if you can like, I don't know. So a lot of people will just be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that, and like my life will get better." But then they're still not consciously bringing to their attention the way they're being, or the way they're reacting to stuff, and they're not consciously keeping these notes like at the
Yeah.
forefront of their head. Like you have to like when it comes in, like decision making is basically our only tool. That's what life does is decision make, and that's what makes experience. So you have to just like recognize that and look at decision making as like a tool and like actually decision make and not just react to things.
Definitely
and, like,
take
think,
charge
like,
of the situations.
yeah.
A lot of people think they're taking charge of the situations, but once again, they're letting their ego
and they're
take
not.
charge.
They're just and they're just letting just the opposite. They're letting the situation control them by just reacting and not just taking control of it like that.
It's like that the monk crossing the river story.
Yeah.
Like real short, yeah, but it's like the monk, there's two monks just waiting by a river. I don't know what they're doing. Monk stuff.
This monk's up
And
at the river, probably meditating or
The
something.
lady comes by and she needs to get across the river. And so the monk gets her across the river. She's a very rude lady, just all the things she does, just a bad, nasty person. He still takes her across the river. She gets on her way, doesn't say thank you or anything. And the one monk's just all pissed off, like,
Goddamn
why
stupid,
did you do
rude-ass
this?
lady.
Like, yeah, like, why
Over
did you
here
do this?
trying
You
to-
helped her and everything.
Yeah.
And the monk, the other monk who carried her, he's like, well, I just carried her across the river. You're carrying her throughout the whole day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, why? You have to gain control of the situation. Put yourself on top. And the main thing is just don't get emotionally involved.
Right.
Don't get emotionally involved at all. And just aim for the best interest in everybody.
Right.
What's the point of yelling at somebody because you disagree with their life decision? You're just going to only fuse more and just, it gets all out of control way too fast.
Yeah. Definitely. And then nobody's really want to be, nobody's happy.
And then being the good guy at that point in time is, now your ego's too built up and high. I just did all this shit. I don't want to back down from my arguments now.
Yup, exactly. Yup. Now with me, like I consciously think to myself a lot, like I don't know. I think another problem people have when it comes to decision making is just like justifying things. Like
True.
like it comes into that having control thing and like self control. Just so many people are like, okay, this is a decision and this is a decision. Obviously, this is maybe the better decision, but after all, yeah. And like you really have to, step out of that, and that's why it's like a lot of people say this, but I think it's true that it's important to like write down goals or like have some kind of visual thing you can see to like remind yourself to kind of like snap you out of that and be like, oh yeah, okay, well this is what I want. Even just like how people like wear stuff on their wrist to like remember something, like even just something as simple as that.
That's the one thing too.
Or tattoo, whatever.
Breathing.
More tattoos.
That's why I like breathing. When people tell you to focus on your breathing during
Yeah.
like meditation or something, because that's something you always do. That's something you're always gonna have on hand.
Yeah.
You start feeling that stress, and you just realize you're breathing heavy. You're like, oh, breath. Let me realign here.
Yeah, dude, it helps so much.
And there's so much. Just controlling your breath naturally calms you down.
Right.
There's so many breathing techniques to put you in a different state of what you were or are.
Right. I think that's just a big part of why people are the way they are now too. Because I don't think people now. I don't think they just naturally breathe the same way they did a couple hundred years ago, you know?
Probably not.
They're probably breathing less deep breaths, you know, more shallow breathing, less with their diaphragm, more out of their chest, because they're always, like, people are stressed, you know, everybody's stressed now over everything, and, like, that makes your breathing more shallow. Everyone's in, like, a less natural, more, well, I don't know, maybe kind of a more natural, but almost in more of, like, an instinctive state, like, physically, with just the stuff going on in them, just because they're stressed and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody was, I don't know, if everybody just had a chance to relax more and calm down, get some of that cortisol out of them, like, and learn how to breathe, because most people don't, I mean, even realize they're not breathing right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I wasn't running right until, like, a few years ago. I was
So many
jogging for a
things.
little bit. I was like, wait, is this dude telling me that I'm not, like, I don't know how to run?
Shit, I was saying specific wrong till I was like in high school.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too,
Specific.
probably. At least until
I was a
then.
very Pacific person.
Very Pacific person.
Very Pacific.
Very West Coast.
But definitely having that tool when you're in the situation to bring yourself back into a more relaxed, able to see things more clearly position. And definitely just, that's why meditation, like, even if you don't like meditation, they say, like, Alan Watts says it all the time too, like, if you don't want to meditate, that's not really meditating.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he interprets it
Oh,
in
yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah, I know what you mean. I see what you mean.
But, like, if you don't want to do it, then why are you doing it? But if this is something, like, you want to focus and become a better person, just because, one, it helps take out so much of the bullshit out of just human lifestyle we have today.
Yeah.
There's just so much stress, but just trying to better yourself and just having that tool, just, even if you don't want to meditate, just practice stuff like that and focus on breathing and just trying to get yourself into that moment. And even if you don't succeed while you're meditating, I've met so many people, how do you meditate?
Yeah. I've tried it, but
happens.
then I fell asleep in 5 minutes.
I talked
tried
to myself
it and I got
too
bored.
much. Yeah,
Or I can't stop thinking. Yeah. Definitely. I think those, what were you going to say?
It's just a part of meditating, like, until you really find that, what you're looking for out of it. And then just telling yourself to focus on your breath in that time, eventually that skill will come into play.
Yeah.
Like in those traffic situations. Someone cut me off.
Right.
Instead of road raging.
Yeah, and then like
son of a bitch.
A little bit, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah,
you
it just happens.
Do it until it's just naturally your natural reaction to things. That's the thing. Like it's not like it's always gonna seem like a lot of work or always seem like something that's hard to do. Like once you get into it, it'll just snowball and come together, and then it'll just be the natural way you react to things.
Exactly. There was like, I don't know, I always used to get so pissed off over things. Like, if you drop something, you hurt yourself, just do something stupid in public. I used to just get so pissed and embarrassed.
Yeah.
And eventually I'm like, you laugh at other people when this shit happens to them.
Yep.
You gotta laugh at yourself.
Yep.
And now eventually, like,
felt the same thing
the
before.
worst things could happen to me. And I still just like, oh fuck, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
What luck I have today.
Yep. Or as all
Like,
the Midwest memes say, "Ope."
Yeah. Fucking car died in Indiana the day I was about to go home. I wasn't pissed. I was like, oh fuck, son of a bitch. You guys want to go smoke? I'll figure this car situation out.
Yep, that's funny.
It wasn't even a thing, like.
Because when I was in Indiana last, my car also fucked up. Like the day. Something was going on there.
I think they're just lost. They're just looping around.
Must be a confusing neighborhood. I feel bad if Same place that fire truck was going to. Somebody was waiting on that ambulance. 30 minutes or it's free.
Just for the record, when we started this, there was 2 fire trucks that pulled around and then turned around in a cul-de-sac to head in a completely other direction. And now they just looped back around and turned around and went back in the other direction. Fuck.
Apparently they followed smoke to the wrong neighborhood or something.
Well, that Focus is pouring out some smoke.
Hey, yeah, smoke is.
You set it with a house fire. So back into it.
I like describing that stuff as like tools too, because that's the best way to describe it. It's like you're here and you're here to kind of manipulate reality and stuff in a way, just by doing stuff and having a life and observing stuff. And then you're given like a body, just given this thing that can do stuff and that can move around spatially, and then you're given tools within that body, like,
You literally
can
control
choose.
so much of the universe.
I can decide. Like, I can decide what happens in so many different situations. That's the problem. Like, people know they can make decisions, but they don't realize how much of their feelings and stuff they can make decisions about.
Yeah,
it's
for
back
sure.
to the, like, how could I not be mad about this? Like, you'd be mad about this.
The brain's just something you definitely have to train. And that's when I made that realization, when it was kind of like muscle memory. You just sort of have to get it, force a habit, really.
Yeah.
And that's like any skill you have. You just got to make it a thing. You just can't sit and complain like, oh, I'm just not like that. Like, that's not me.
Right.
I'm just naturally a dick.
Yeah, that's like what a lot of people think. That's the way a lot of people think, or they just think they can't control their thoughts, and they're like, oh, nope, I'm just an overthinker.
Yeah.
I was just came into this world an overthinker, I'm going to die an overthinker.
And you also have to think about it. They're like, well, maybe they say, like, well, I have tried all this, and I've tried that. But you also got to think, how long have you been an overthinker? Well, as long as I can remember. Well, that's how much muscle memory you have burnt into being an overthinker, a negative
take some
thinker.
more work.
It's going to take a lot of that opposition to bring you into a different field where you can finally just freely recognize and be able to be in control.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm good. Oh, I was trying to see if I could send it back your way. I thought I was about to for a sec. What?
Tools is a good way to describe it, for sure.
I also use this kind of tool thing where I just think of everybody as kids, like little kids. You know, I just think about them like, I mean, yeah, they're being a dick, but there's some reason they're being that way.
Yeah.
You know, there's something put them on that course to be this person.
That natural habit.
At some point, like, it originally probably wasn't their fault, you know, it's probably, however their parents brought them up, you know, really, or whatever, just whatever experiences they had when they were just developing themselves and figuring out, like, oh, I'm a person in this world, and, like, this is my name, and this is me, and this is how the world works, and everything my parents say is how it is, you know?
Right. That's the one thing that upsets me the most, is there's not mindfulness being taught in most households.
Yeah.
And that's like, why isn't that brought up in school?
Right.
Like, I mean, maybe if you're in a college course or something. Like, but it's just so, it is something that roots, when you're developing as a human, a child, you are just left to interpret the world. Like, you're literally clean slate, learning how this universe works and how everything works around you, just by interpreting other people and other things around you.
Right.
That's all you have.
You're interpreting the way they interpreted other people's interpretations of interpretations, you know?
Especially
like,
when you see someone really, like an adult when you're a kid, they're smart. They know everything. Well, how could they
Even
be
before
wrong?
the internet, they knew everything.
Right? Yeah. Like, how could they steer me wrong? If this is how they act towards a situation, that must be right.
Right.
And so
exactly.
just definitely how they don't teach kids that. Like, who teaches their kid that? Not many people.
Right.
I know it was sure as fuck I wasn't told that. But it's just...
It's all about those seeds you plant.
Exactly. That is, yeah, seeing people as kids. I like that.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Just being a baby.
Yeah.
It is, too. It's like that natural whiny state.
Yeah, we just
just
assume...
snap out of functioning civil person into a kid again.
We just assume that there's some, like, universal standard rate at which, or ratio, I should say, at which people grow mentally and physically. Like, it's not the same for everybody.
No, not at all.
Not everybody grows mentally in the same amount of years as everybody else. Definitely. And you have to kind of look at people like that. And you also have to assume that, like, I don't know, even if you're not thinking specific situations, you just have to assume that you're wrong a lot. Because you're constantly making decisions all the time. You have to assume that they're not 100% right. And I don't know, and then that just consciously realizing that just opens the door for that, like I said, just being able to be like, oh, maybe I was wrong about this, or, you know, I don't know. But then you can understand that, like, okay, well, there's definitely things I'm wrong about a lot. So this is, like, I don't do anything perfect. Like, nobody does anything perfect. So, you know, like you said with the driving situation, like, someone does something dumb, you're like, oh, well, I've done that before, you know, at some point. Chances are this person probably didn't do that on purpose.
Forgiveness is a big thing.
Yeah. Something that was merging me the other day, just going to Kroger. I was, like, in the lane, turning into the parking lot. There's that little lane in the front just that real short lane that you turn in to get in there.
Yeah,
I got in there, and then, like, this person just like, oh, I'm going to Kroger.
Yeah, definitely being understanding of human error.
Yeah.
Being able to forgive, like, even when people are just horrible people, it's like, okay, why are you horrible?
Right. And I like thinking that, but just thinking about, like, the balance of it. Like, I also think a lot, like, okay, well, this bad thing happened. Okay, hold on. So, bigger realization you have to realize first is that just when they say, like, everything is as it should be, like, everything is the way it is because it is that way. You know, like, nature unfolded in a certain way, and all this stuff had to happen for all this stuff to happen. And so, like, a lot of times when like, bad shit happens, like, either small stuff or stuff to me or stuff not to me or stuff in the news, like, whatever, I just think, like, well, if that didn't happen, then no matter how, like, unrelated it seems, like, it's all, like, the same, like, web of events, you know?
The universe built up to this exact situation.
Yeah, so I think, like, oh, well, I guess if that wasn't going on, then I might not have this, or I might not have that, or, you know, who knows? Like, there's no way to tell the unlimited possibilities that fixing any bad thing could have made anything worse, or something else worse or something, you know?
Yeah, there's always time to definitely reveal what could have been, or what is, and just show you, like, even in the worst case scenarios, you break your leg, but then, oh, there's a draft. Now you don't get drafted. where you possibly, if you
Yeah.
got drafted, you would have went to war and killed. Like, you never know. Like, shit
Yeah.
like that. Like, it's just weird scenarios. You never know what situation's going to lead you where.
Right.
You
Yeah.
think at the time it's horrible, it's awful, but in turn, how is that going to affect your future?
Right.
The path of events that you don't know.
Just unlimited possibilities.
Exactly.
And then you don't know where each one of those unlimited possibilities, each one of those has an unlimited possibility, you know, and like you just have no idea. You don't know where either of those could have landed you in 10, 15 years from now, you know. So then there's no way you can, and you just have to think about that. Like, nope, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to connect this one, like, and just accept that. Just comes down to acceptance. Just gotta be like, yeah, okay, this happened.
Go with the flow, live in the now.
You know,
It's like, we're getting back a little bit, but it's like when we let ourselves be taken over by situations and we aren't mindful of things, we're just being thrown around. Another way to think about it is, you want to make the most out of your life, then why don't you take control? So instead of getting yourself being thrown around and playing into the game of life, like the Buddhist, where the universe forgot himself, he's just playing the game.
yeah.
And you're falling in, Shiva, oh, Shiva, you devil, like, you're just playing into the game. You're just falling into your own traps.
Right,
You're
yeah.
just playing in, and oh my gosh, you're making all about this weird, made-up fucking bullshit you fantasized about, when really it's, if you want to be a mindful person and you want to take control of your life, then why are you playing into the game?
Right. Definitely.
If you want to have able to save control of any aspect of your life, then why are you letting situations get you flustered and lose friends because it's something so petty?
Yeah.
And even, like, okay, toxic people, you don't want them in your life, but that also doesn't mean you have to treat them poorly.
Right.
There's a
Comes
big
back to
difference.
acceptance.
Yeah.
Like, just gotta.
It's, yeah, maybe you do have a toxic person, a relative that you can't throw out, but that's also no reason. Even if they're a petty person, why play into that game?
Right.
So much wasted energy when you could definitely always just looking out for yourself. What else can you do with that time?
Yeah. It's always best to just take stuff like that as a learning experience, really. Definitely, like, especially using other people to reflect on yourself, like, no matter how different they are from you, you know, it's good to check yourself against people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is this something maybe I do in some way sometimes?
How can I not? It's like when have you ever watched that show, Hoarders?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, just all those people.
Seen it a few
I used to
times.
do estate sales too. You just go through all these people's houses. There's just trash everywhere. Like, just
I bet.
trash and trash. And it's like, alright, how can I not be this person? You go home and fucking clean everything.
Yep.
I've been sitting on this junk drawer for how many years?
Right.
Like, and it's definitely reflecting on other people.
Or even just going over to some people's houses sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, is this what my
man.
place is like? Is this how it feels when people walk into my place?
Yeah, just being aware. Do so much.
Back to kind of what we were saying a minute ago. I get real intrigued thinking about, like, the game, like, as you put it, like, just that way of thinking about things. Just like a game, but, like, with yourself, but you've managed to, like, develop this game of reality in a way that you don't know it when you're playing it. And, 'cause even, like, with the author writing a book with the characters, and the characters, you know, think they're all separate people, and they don't know that they're all out of the author's consciousness, you know, whatever. Even in that situation, the author knows.
Yeah.
you know. But in like real life, like in reality, it's like this game was developed out of this game maker, and then the game maker's playing the game and not knowing it. So of course, he's gonna fall for all the traps and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the one time when I had a certain experience of sorts. uh, I was thinking like, I don't know, for me, like tripping is like auto meditation. Like I can just sit there and just instantly be like, and it's like the perfect state of meditation. But the one time I started thinking about that, like everything is a game, and like you have these, I don't know, you just like you said, you have all these like traps and stuff that kind of set up and be like, oh, I got ya. That's what that's what I kept thinking all the time, was that like there's just some weird underlying, like, just some like fundamental like underlying something to humor.
Yeah, it's like when everything's going good and you're just waiting for that one bad thing to happen. Like, all right, everything's too good.
Yeah.
It is. Like, we kind of expect that, too, in life. And it really is like a game. Like, what's going to go wrong next?
Yeah.
What tragedy in my life is going to happen?
Right. But, yeah, the one time, like, so I was just, like, meditating, I was just thinking about, so I was tripping, so, like, I was into it, and, I was just thinking about that, like, how everything's a game, and there's these traps you set up, but it's meant to be, like, a joke. It's meant to be, like, ha, got ya, like, aha. And, I just kept thinking of so many different things like that, and I kept, like, falling back into it and forgetting about it, and then, like, oh yeah, like, it's a joke or whatever. And then, like, I walked out in the living room. This is when I was living with Brant, and he wasn't there. Like, he went somewhere, but there was like a thing of coffee, just a cup of coffee sitting on the arm of the couch. And I was just looking at it, and I was like, Brant's not here. Why is there just like a fresh cup of coffee sitting on the arm of the couch? And I was like, nope, I'm not gonna think about it. It's trying to get me again. Like, that's just some joke I'm trying to play on myself over there. Like, I want me to go over and look at it and then just be like, oh, got me again. And then, so I didn't. I just left it there. Like, trying not to think about it, like, pretending it's not even existing. Like, and then, like, Brant came in and picked it up, and I was just like, it was here. Like, got myself trying not to get myself. To, like, reverse psychology myself back into it. Back into it.
It is just kind of like when people say, like, oh, the universe is against me. Like, it really is. Like,
in a way it is.
If you let yourself think that way, the universe is against you.
Yeah.
Every fucking time.
Yeah. Plus, it's just against you just in the way that, like, it doesn't... The whole point of it is to not let you find out that you're supposed to be finding out about it. Like, I don't know, like, the whole point of it is to, like, keep this, like, game going on so you don't know. And, like, the whole point of you kind of is to figure out it. So it's like you're literally playing this game against the universe. I don't know, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Like, think about it like that. Kind of like, I don't know, I think, like, the point of life is kind of to realize that, but then in realizing that, you realize that's all there is to realize, and then you realize that there's nothing to realize, as in there's no point. Like, there's no point to life, like, but not in, like, a bad way, just in a way that, like, there's no point to art. Like, you just do it to do it.
Do it, yeah.
Like we were talking about before, it's just, like, that actual in-the-moment doing of it.
The best saying of it all is that it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. It's the simplest thing, and, like, I hate that people use that the way they do. Because it is always used in such a petty, like, insincere way. but it's so like profound. I like to realize that.
That is, it is
what
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. People be like, whatever, it is what it is. I just want to be like, don't take it in vain. Don't take its name in vain.
But then you gotta think to yourself, it is what it is.
Acceptance. But then you also have to accept that you don't accept that, and that it's okay for you to act like that at the same time. The acceptance of non-acceptance.
It's all a big loop.
Yeah. Definitely. It's like you realize that, but then I don't know. Like when I like really realize that, then it makes me not not want to think about it, but like okay, I realize that now I can go back to like living life like a person, kind of just with that bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
But then I still start thinking about it again, and then like start contemplating it again, and then I just take a step back. Like I don't know. I'm trying to like I know there's no point, but
I still
at
want.
the same time, like I still want to, know more. But yeah, oh yeah, like I was saying, like it's like when you're doing something you want to do just to do it. It's not like there's no point in life. It's just like there's no point in life, as in there's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you're like obligated, to do. You're not gonna like fail at life if you don't go to this school and get this job, or you're not gonna fail at life if you don't like save some third world country.
You know, homeless all your life and still be winning life.
Yeah. It's kind of like the counterpart to like you're not entitled to anything. It's like you're not entitled to anything, so you're not guaranteed anything, and that's not wrong. But then at the same time, you're not obligated to anything as well.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it like that. It was kind of like that trade-off.
Where you going? It doesn't matter.
It's like the difference between like there not being any point to life is like having like a blank canvas to do something on versus having like a coloring book with lines all over it that you have to stay in.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Like the point of a coloring book is like stay in the fucking lines. But, if you take all that away and you just have a blank canvas, you can make whatever you want.
And even the worst art, modern art, it's nothing, but it's still beautiful in some perspectives.
Yeah, in some perspectives. I hate when I think like, oh, there's like 2 straight lines on that piece of paper and it's in an art museum.
I did that when I was 3.
Yeah, like I don't like to think that way because like literally anything can be art, but at the same time sometimes it's like, come on, something else could be in that thing's place.
Yeah.
Unless there's just some crazy weird like historic significance to it or something.
No, he was just a pop culture artist who painted a couple of lines because he had that name behind him. Those lines are famous.
Exactly. I'm gonna draw the same 2 lines but make one a different color. I bet it never makes it into an art museum.
Shit, no. Psh, I would hang it up. Right,
I would make a lot of art to hang up. Definitely. Sometimes I find that even when it comes to like actual art, like painting or something, like I think too much about what I want to do instead of just doing something.
Yeah.
And I just forget like
truth.
I don't have any like real objective here. And I'm just painting something to make something. I pick some colors I want to do something with and see what comes out. So like, I don't know. So you sit there like looking on YouTube like, how do I make this perfect palm leaf? And by the time I'm done with it, I'm like frustrated or something. It's like, well, this wasn't as fun as it was supposed to be.
Your mind's interpretation is just as beautiful as your sought out perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may not see it that way because it's not what you envisioned, but it's what you projected.
Right.
That's what came out. That's the lesson for today.
Probably about that time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 8:30.